All right, can I please call the meeting to order, and if I get a roll call, which is, we have Ralph Mitchells, the Vice Mayor, and Connie Gross, the Mayor, and Mrs. Tina Emerson, our Finance Officer, and it looks like Jim is not here, and Diana said she had to go to Georgia, so she's not going to be here tonight. And then we'll start with an invocation. Scott, you want to join us? Oh,
I think we need an official call to order. We didn't when we were not, or when we were in person before. We only did that because we were
Because of the
internet.
internet. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Okay. I'm sorry, Scott, please.
All right, so pray. Dear Lord, we do thank you for who you are. We thank you for your goodness as we recognize your goodness as we're gathering together in person again. We're just so grateful for your mercy and that you bestowed on us for just bringing life back to normal. And so we thank you for that. Thank you for your goodness and for the free country we live in. We can govern ourselves. And just pray your blessings on this meeting. Give wisdom to the council. And help us to honor you, we ask. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Ralph, if you'll, Amen. If you'll stand up, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the agenda. Does anyone have a choice?
I will.
Thank you.
I second.
Thank you. All in agreement? Aye.
Aye.
All in favor?
Agreed.
Okay. The approval of the August 11th, 2022 council minutes, meeting minutes. Have you had a chance to review them?
I have.
Can I get a motion? Are they acceptable?
I make a motion.
Thank
To
you.
accept the council.
Ralph seconds, and all in favor?
Aye.
It's going to take a little while to kind of get used to that.
I know, in person, some people
I know.
I have a computer. Okay, the presentation of the financial and tax report. You can start.
The tax collected was $18,352.97. We had two line items that were over in the month of August. One of them was dues and subscriptions. The other one was payroll fees. So I'm going to move $220 to dues and subscriptions and $1,000 to payroll fees. We were expecting to be able to go to Edmondson sooner than what we're going to be able to, so we didn't budget enough in that line item to cover Parkland and Edmondson. So
I see. Okay. Do you need a motion for that?
no.
All right, so moved then. Is there anything else for the financials?
No.
You're all set. Financial officers report?
We reported last month on some of the things that we paid for this month already. So we have the new roof. We paid for Edmonds Financial. It was found out in the water fund and in the general fund, the deposit for that. We'll have the SCADA payment coming up next month for this month.
And the pump. We can replace the pump at the top. Okay. Okay. Getting stuff done. That's what it takes. Okay, and now I'd like to introduce to everybody Mr. Chris Ferris. Am I saying your name right?
That's correct.
And he is our Graham County property assessment person. And accompanying him is Jason Marino, who is the county manager. And we have Randy Cook, who is the tax assessor. And her friend.
Heather Webster. That's Heather Webster. She's the assistant.
You're the assistant. Thank you, Heather. I never used to. Chris, if you'd like to have this table, you're welcome to stand up there and talk over here. Yes, please. Let me get these table here, put stuff down.
So let me start off by introducing myself. My name's Chris Ferris. I'm a North Carolina certified general appraiser. Also have done approximately 15 revaluations in North Carolina and Georgia. Graham County
asked me to come up and help them with this revaluation, and we have taken on a lot in the past 2.5 years or so. So Brandy has done a tremendous job as a new tax assessor. You'll have to excuse my voice. I have a disability with my voice. So if you can't understand me, tell me to ask me a question. I'll try to speak up more. So with that being said, we start off with this reevaluation by auditing all the tax maps against our tax office computer system, which is named MyTech. And we discovered there was quite a few mismatches, and we've been trying very hard over the past 2 years to clean up the GIS maps and make them more legible and readable to the public. So what we started off doing is redelineating all the neighborhoods, or redelineating the whole county into a market neighborhood, which is 1,000 parcels or less. So with that being said, this is the makeup of the county. We broke it up into all these different market neighborhoods, about 1,000 parcels or less. We took the townships, we broke those up, and then we did sub-neighborhoods out of those, which are subdivisions or other entities that are different market in that township. So, for instance, Santeetlah Shores, we broke it out into its own neighborhood so we can study the sales and understand what's going on in here.
Is that Santeetlah Shores or Santeetlah County?
I think it's
That's us.
That's us.
Santeetlah Shores is down the road. That's us, yeah.
Follow the road, you know.
Look like the elevator.
Yeah, that's what they said in the office. But y'all have a beautiful place here. Got the pleasure of meeting a lot of people. I was out here helping remeasure all this. Met this gentleman here. He tried to straighten us out while we were out there. We sat down and had a good conversation with him. I appreciate your hospitality. So the way we did this, we're studying the market here in y'all's subdivision, and I heard from a lot of people, a lot of different things going on right now. So I tried to take that into consideration when we're out pricing your property. So we start off by going out to remeasuring every property in here. And when we did so, we actually found a lot of stuff that has not been listed on the tax records.
This gentleman is more seasoned.
And that's just happened over time. The permits that were taken out, we just didn't get in the office, or something happened. But anyway, we remeasured every house, we redrew every house on the tax records now, so y'all can see it coming up as revaluation. Once we did that, we go into looking at vacant land sales. How much is the land selling in here? And we apply that to all the other parcels with plus or minus based on location, who's got the nicer views, who's out on a point, who's at the top of the mountain. So there's different variations that we plus and minus the location. We talk to different builders, look at what's the cost on your average typical 1,800 square foot house. We have a book called Marshall Swift, it's international, that appraisers use to value homes at cost study. Once we put that into the system, we look at the sales to say, okay, based on the sales in here, that determines the depreciation on the houses. And I think we all know over the past couple of years, costs have gone crazy. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly how much it costs to build a house today. It depends on the builder, how much profit they're going to make, and material, what type of materials you use on your house. And so based on all that information, you get it plugged into the system, and let the sales determine depreciation of the property. Now, coming out here, visiting the property out here, have absolutely gorgeous homes, and we try to be a little more precise or more accurate on what type of property you have, or what type of quality your house is. So we corrected a lot of those. And let's see. We also have a new tool called pictometry, which is aerials that are floating a lot lower to the ground. It's kind of like Google Earth. You can rotate it, see the houses all the way around, depending on trees, which really helped the tax office. Let's say we missed something or we can't get to some places, which, well, you know, Randy took me out to some places that I couldn't even tell you how we got there. Thank goodness for four-wheel drive, I can tell you that. So that was very interesting. I think that's Snowbird. We went down, and I didn't think we were coming back. So, she was a great driver, and thank you, Lord, we got back. So we use pictometry to help measure houses. If we say we missed something out there, we can't get to a property, we can actually pull up this pictometry, get low to the ground, and measure. You can actually measure fire hydrant with this tool. That's how close it is. And that's going to save the tax office a lot of money and time, having to drive all the way out to Snowbird or another part of the county. It can take 45 minutes to an hour to get some places. So that's going to help them in the future. Also, we actually discovered quite a few houses that were never put on the books. I guess they're off-grid homes out there that helped us pick those up, put them back on the tax books. So it's a great product that I think they're going to get a lot of good use out of. And so back to your subdivision here. From 2019 to 2022, we had 64 sales, which is about 18 per year right now. That's a lot of sales for a subdivision. So we study those sales, and we take those sales and apply it to the ones that have not sold. So it's kind of a reverse of a real estate appraisal. And, you know, we're going to be close. We should be at market value. What it should sell for as of January 1st, 2023. So there's approximately 10,200 parcels currently in the county. We averaged this past year about 44 sales a month. Last year was about 43 a month. 2022 or 2020 we averaged 33 a month, and then 19 we averaged 28 a month. So you can see from 19 to 2022, sales per month doubled in this county. And I think a lot of that has to do with the market. Everybody's investing in real estate, sight unseen. I even purchased a house up here in Graham County. It's a beautiful county, and I fell in love with it when I got here. So, and I'm going to tell you about the house I bought. It was on the books for about $55,000, and y'all probably going to laugh at me, but I paid $150,000 when I bought it. That's about how the market has grown here in the past 4 years. So we've seen that a lot. We saw that a lot in this subdivision. So currently we're about 80% complete in the field, relisted, measured, taking pictures. And we're about 40% complete pricing everything. So I'm hoping by mid-February we should be done with this, and we should be sending notices out around mid-February, end of February, to start the appeal process. offer different exclusions up there for elderly, disabled veterans, and a couple other ones. So if you're not on any of that, we definitely can send y'all some pamphlets on how you qualify for that kind of stuff. So that can help a lot of people that are struggling this time. Hey, that's about, we'll wrap it up here.
That's okay.
Do y'all have any questions for me?
I guess what the main interest of people out here are going to be is how high how much things are going to change, and that becomes right down. Okay, so it's going to be quite a bit. Okay, seems high already. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just said the taxes seem really high already.
I don't know how to answer that, but
I don't have anything to do with taxes. All I'm doing is interpreting how much your property is worth right now. And out of 10,500 parcels, yeah, we're going to get a few wrong. That's what the appeal process is for. So if you feel like there's a mistake, what I ask y'all to do, you go online, print your property record card out, and take a look at it. Look at the house itself, make sure bedrooms, bathrooms are correct. Then look at the land value, make sure the land value is acceptable. So kind of break it down to make sure that's what's worth in here. And, land, we have quite a few sales in here. Let's see.
This is all for next year's bill.
That's correct.
Because this year's bill's already been set up, so.
That's correct.
In February, we'll start the amount, the appeals process, and then by September 1st, or something like that, the tax rate will go out based on the amount you're looking at now.
That's
So is it
correct.
for the year 2023?
December 2023.
Okay.
All right,
Or
so once
September to
we
December.
send the notices out, we go through the appeals process, which takes about 2 months. Then we try to go through all those appeals and correct any that we have wrong. Once that is done, the commissioners have a better idea of what the value of the county really is. Once that's established, then they can set a new tax rate. So it could either come down. So if we go up, let's say 30% on the average for the county, the tax rate may come down to offset that. So, that's something the commissioners have to
That's also.
as well. So,
Can you give us the website
for,
where we look this stuff up?
it's Graham County.
Just
Tax
Graham
office,
County
yeah.
Tax Office?
Yeah.
But that's not going to have the new numbers on there, is it? We won't see those new.
Once we send the notices out, you will.
It'll be in February. We'll see the changes.
That's correct.
And you're just saying a lot. That's like not a good number. Any
I
idea,
really can't.
percentage or something, or doesn't? It's not the way
It's
it works.
because we're not, I try not to look at percentages, because that doesn't help me. Of course, it helps commissioners and all that. So, I do have a range of a percentage I could probably share, which is going to be between 40 and 50% here.
Increase in value, the taxable value.
That's correct. That's on the average.
Okay, that's something to start with.
Right.
An idea.
And until January comes, let's say the market crashes, then we have, of course, try to come back a little bit on those values before the end of the year. So I don't like giving numbers until.
Oh, I didn't mean to try to put you on the spot, but I had some.
Everybody asks that question. What percentage is behind?
How much is it?
Land in here is probably what increased the most. It was
Vacant land?
vacant land. It increased between 45 and 60%, let's say. So, but a lot of that has to do with items we found out here that were never listed on the tax records. And that's not anybody's fault, it's just, that's why we did a full list of measures. We were missing stuff all over the county that we haven't had on the books. So, that plus the market is what's caused the increase in here. You know, supply and demand. There's not many houses for sale, not much property overall. The cost to build is astronomical for some people. So the older homes, the depreciation is less now because supply and demand. Those old houses sell for as much as newer homes almost. I mean, it's a crazy market right now.
And do I understand it too that the county hasn't done an assessment in a very long time, so that's why it's going to...
Well, the last one was 4 years ago.
How many?
Was it 4 years ago, right? 19.
2019, an assessment, but it wasn't necessarily something as thorough as what you were doing.
No, they went out and looked at property, they didn't get out and measure. This time, the commissioners wanted us to get out and remeasure everything. We took pictures of behind houses, we took pictures of all your outbuildings and extra features of the properties that we have there. Look at it. Then you can go back and look at the componentry and see if the house changed over year, over the years to see. Most people want to keep their house up and make it appreciate over time. And we see a lot of that. So, a lot of them replacing decks with the newer material that lasts longer, that costs a lot more.
And that changes your value, your taxable value?
Yes. A lot of people, I've noticed, enclose their bottom part of their houses and made like cellars out of them to store stuff in. So we picked those up. They enclosed the room, a porch into a sunroom or some part of the main heated area now. So that affects that.
And there's something that I just want to put out there. It's not necessarily has to do with you so much, but it has to do with the county when you do your plot plans on your deeds. I think everybody should look theirs up just for their own, information. It's going to change in February, but I mean just for now, because the way our zoning is right now, if you have a catastrophe and your house burnt down or a tree fell, you can rebuild under the grandfathering, but unfortunately you're only going to be able to build what's listed on Graham County's deed, the little picture. Right. And if it's an original little box, like my house could very well show up that way. It doesn't have what somebody added on years ago before I bought it, things like that. And I would only be able to put that original little box back according to what we have in place.
Right, that's what you were explaining to me.
So I want that to be known.
It's really a benefit to everybody here that we did get out and remeasure every house out here.
And so now documentation, if my house was to burn down tomorrow, I could build what you have drawn on my my Graham County deed.
Starting January 1st.
Assessor's map.
Assessor's map, okay.
A sketch on the property.
Is that what you call it? A sketch, okay.
On the property record cards.
I got a question on the formula. The large part of the reason that houses are selling for as much as they are out here is because people are turning them into rentals.
Right.
Any place from $2,500 to $5,500 a week. Does that play any part in the figuring of what the actual value should have been?
That's a good question. We have coded those so we can track them to see if that does affect value or not. I did Cherokee County and Swain County. We were looking at those as well. And as far as market-wise, a house is still a house. A lot of people buy a house, will turn it into an Airbnb or whatnot. So that doesn't really affect the sales price. It helps sell it faster that, hey, I got renters in here, it's already out there.
They didn't rent it out, they wouldn't have bought it.
Right. So,
But that kind of kills or beats down your average homeowner not renting.
right.
So I guess, I don't know if there's any way to do it or not, but to look at all the Airbnb and basically classify them as rentals.
Yeah, and that's what we try to do here. We have actually coded those as rental homes so we can track them over the next couple of years to see if it does affect the market anyway.
I know there was a 1,200 square foot home that sold for $748,000 one day, and the guy didn't even come out to look at it.
Right, now we're seeing
And
that.
that's what, now he's getting $4,500 a week for
Now
it.
it's become Holiday Inn, so to speak.
Yeah. We see a lot of that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we have not seen in the market, I mean, that's an excellent question, I get that a lot, that we haven't seen where it really affects the other houses or how it's sold and bought. Of course, those are probably fixed up a little bit nicer to get renters in there.
You'd be
So,
surprised.
you know, some of them aren't. I've stayed in plenty, trust me. And that's why I bought up here. I was paying $2,000 a month in rent, and I couldn't afford it, so that's why I bought. It's a lot cheaper.
No, thank you. That's just a question.
Does anybody have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry, I'll come back to you, Kevin. Does anybody have any questions on the Zoom camera? Does anybody want to ask a question? Okay. I don't see anybody. Is anybody here? Kevin, you had another comment or question?
Well, I was just wondering if we log on to your Graham County Tax Office website, can we see the criteria that you're using to create the dollar value on there? In other words, does the house have 3 bedrooms? Does it have X square footage? Is it 2-story, 1-story garage? I mean, what is it that you guys are calculating?
We'll see if I have a copy of the card here, maybe that will help.
I'm just wondering how Snoopy Big Brother's getting now.
It's on there.
Take mine.
They're coming to
Very
find us.
specific.
Yeah.
Now, we
Now that the
have,
drone is out, I guess it's,
I know, I see that.
now, unfortunately, we don't
You
go
know, chicken
in-house.
coop in your yard, they're gonna see
We
it.
measure from outside wall to outside wall.
Okay.
That's-
You're not going inside.
Right. A couple of people, they let us come in to measure the upper stories, and that's the most difficult part to draw. So if you have an upper story and it's not right, we'll be glad to come out and remeasure those. That is not a problem.
So we should probably recommend everybody watching and here, it'd probably be a good idea to review it to make sure it's accurate.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Print your card out, look at the sketch, look at the square footage, look at the construction details, what your house is made out of, bedroom, bathroom counts.
Heating, air conditioning.
So you can see it on
But
there.
all
now,
that's
for
listed on your-
past. You can see it on there now for what's passed, and then when they redo it, you'll see the new one. You can print out the one that's there now and compare it to the new one that they're gonna do in February.
Yeah, I'm familiar with this gentleman's work in Mecklenburg County.
Are you? Oh, okay,
Yes.
good. Because,
He and I talked about it in my driveway when he was coming through. It's quite annoying, but he hits it pretty close to the mark. I have to give him credit for that. I still fight. Because that's my job. It's my job as a taxpayer to fight back. To disagree. But he hits it. I mean,
You're doing your job, is what you're saying.
Well,
that's why they want him all over the place.
Right, he's traveling,
good.
man, he goes all over.
I actually went into Mecklenburg and revamped their whole system and fixed it. But this is a property record card.
Okay.
I tore off the top, so you don't know who this is, but this is the sketch, what it looks like.
Okay,
This is your construction details down on the side, right here, what the house is made of. Your bedroom and bathroom count are also over here. You have your outbuilds and extra features, which out here would be docks and piers and whatnot, storage buildings, and then your land value is down here. So it's broken down just like a textbook. You got your land, you got your improvements on top of your land, and your sales kind of dictate what your appreciation is on those houses. Now, if you do appeal your value, you will need backup supporting data. In the past, people write down, it's not worth this. Well, that's not considered, that's not argument. If you get an appraiser to come out and appraise your house to fight the taxes, make sure it's as of January 1st, 2023. If it's after that date, we cannot look at it per statute. However, However, I will look at, make sure the sketch is right, if the appraisal comes out, make sure we have it drawn right, make sure we have the construction details right. But just, do a little homework. If you send your appeal in and you'd like an appointment, I recommend, sending the letter back and putting your phone number, how we can get hold of you, and say you'd like an appointment. We'll set up a time, and that way we can keep everything in order instead of chaos. It helps a lot better. In the past, so if you have a lot that does not perk, I heard that a lot out here. We will need documentation that says it does not perk. You can get that from the health department. That's only for her to cover her behind that there is proof that this line does not perk. Because from how many times in how many counties people come in and say it don't perk and turn around and sell it for what the market says. And we have to quit doing that. We want documentation. If your house is in bad shape, it needs work or something, you get your contractor to come out and say, this is how much it's going to cost to fix. We can use that to give a little more depreciation on the house based on that information. But it's got to be from a contractor certified that this was going on in the house.
Okay.
We just need documentation so she can have support in case someone else comes in and says, well, you lowered this one. Well, we have documentation, that's why.
Jose Rosado's got a question. You're muted, Jose.
Jose, unmute yourself. You're still muted.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, can you just talk a little louder?
Louder.
No.
The sound is not very good, so I'm sure that you've already said it, but I wanted to ask you the dates. I understand that the appraisal is as of January 1st. When do we get notice and how long do we have for appeal?
I'm hoping we'll have the notices out by end of January, mid-February.
And then the appeal period?
You have 30 days to appeal that, to get it in for informal look at it. Once that 30 days is up, it automatically goes into a formal appeal, which goes straight to the commissioners or the Board of E&R. Once the Board of E&R adjourns for the year, we can no longer take appeals for that year.
Okay, that's Julie and Sept.
Does that make sense? Did you hear me?
I heard most of it. 30 days, and then after a certain period after that, you cannot take appeals any longer?
That's correct, basically. That's informal. If it's after the 30 days, it goes straight into the Board of E&R for them to look at it. So my suggestion is get it in there, within that 30-day period. If you're getting an appraisal done on it, or if you're getting a contractor to look at your property to see, tell us what's wrong with it, go ahead and get your appeal in and just stay on there. You're in the process of getting an appraisal or more documentation to support it. And we'll hold it until you get that done.
Thank you. And who rules on the appeals? What entity?
What do you mean, who rules?
Meaning the appeals are done to the county commission, or is there a zoning board or an appeals board?
Informal will be in-house at the tax office. That gives us the opportunity to look over, see if we made a mistake, basically. Once we do that, we'll send a notice back out saying, no change, or it could go up or it could go down. If you want us to come out and visit the property, make sure you put on the form you'd like for us to come visit that property. Even though we've pretty much already been there, we'll come back out and look at it.
So basically, the county appraiser's office has the final word, or does it? Or is the final word in the county commission?
Once we send that notice back out, and you're still unhappy with our decision, you can do a formal appeal, which goes to the county commissioners.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah,
Okay,
then they'll look at that and make a decision based on your evidence.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. A couple of years ago, Lady Farm valued, the land was valued per linear lake frontage,
That's right.
and then it was changed a few years
That's
ago.
correct. Yeah.
Do you know, is it going to change back to the linear feet, or will it stay?
No, we lot priced them this time. But we lot priced them,
Okay, lot price,
but we
okay.
also looked at the linear footage to see if that affected value. Of course, the people with more footage, they sold a little bit more, and the ones with less footage sold a little bit less.
Okay,
But overall, they're all pretty similar. If it's on the lake, they're buying. I mean, so,
Not necessarily. There's a huge difference between what the lots in Lakeside go for
That's
and what
correct.
the lots around the mountain go for on the water.
yeah.
So how does that work into the formula?
Well, location, location, location. These over here are bigger, a lot.
They got a lot more amenities too.
And I think someone told me they're, on this side of the lake, all right, I think put it as,
They're definitely bigger lots.
they have to meet certain criteria on this side versus the other side, I think someone told me. I heard a lot of things out there. But if you look at the maps, you'll see they are a lot bigger, a lot more frontage. A lot of them are 2 or more lots put together, so that makes a big difference.
Okay. Some of these here are pretty small and they're selling for a lot of money.
Yeah, I think this one right down here just sold for $480,000.
The one right next to town hall here?
It's over right across the.
Oh, okay, yeah, the one in Lakeside.
Other things, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? So,
Like I said, they got a lot more amenities in there.
right. So,
Which the rest,
based on
which
that,
the rest of the town doesn't have, so.
The rest of them are based on that side.
Right, but that's almost like its own subdivision.
Right. Separate.
Yeah.
Plus, they don't have to drive all the way around the subdivision to get there. So.
Like I
And
said,
then you have point lots out there, which have a 300-degree view, those are a lot more. So,
Is there an email address that somebody could email you questions specifically, say, I'm so-and-so, I have lot so-and-so, can you answer my question? I couldn't find an email address for you, or you send it to me.
I prefer you keep it with the tax office.
Okay.
So I keep it separate from my business.
Okay.
And we can, well, I'll email you the different emails.
And is it okay if we put it on our website, Randy, for people
Yes, that's
to
fine.
contact? Okay, because that's our best way of putting information out.
I think our phone number and our email addresses are on our county website.
Okay, but we can put it on our site.
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect. Okay, let's
Yeah, if you get a lot more questions, send them to me, I'll answer.
Well, I'm sure people are going to be curious now. So, does anyone else have anything else for Mr. Ferris? And thank you, sir. I appreciate your time. Thank you, Brandy, and for coming. You're welcome.
We just wanted to know where to send the email, you know, I mean, that's very important.
Oh, that goes to Chris.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what you're talking about. I personally did come out and help measure most of the houses.
Oh, good, go ahead.
See what you come up with. Then.
We can still be friends if we see you.
I don't think, listen, I'm not, the assessor of Mecklenburg have made clear to me, never marry your value. There's all, you know, it's a, you know, it's a value, you can always talk about it and see where it's at. But we're not going to adjust one just because, you know, we want to make it uniform across the board.
Should be consistent.
Right. So, 'cause that's that domino effect. You change one, the next thing you know, all neighbors coming in and saying, well, you changed it. So, I know neighbors talk, I'm not. So,
Well, it's an injustice to have selective enforcement,
right.
because then it's not fair for everybody.
That's right. I don't
Hopefully,
look
we
at-
live in the land of the free and
I
home
look
of
at-
the brave. you
I
know.
look at the house, so, you take people out of the equation and just look at the houses, then it should be consistent uniform across the board.
Agreed.
Okay, nobody has any questions? Thank you, sir.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
appreciate your
Thanks for
time.
having me.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, let's move on then. Request for public comment. I think we have Jim signed up. Let me see if anybody else signed their names for
Oh,
this.
that's you over there?
Y'all can have those.
If you want to stand at the podium, you're welcome to, or if it's not uncomfortable, just stay where you are. Whenever you want to, we're okay. Thank you for coming.
You guys gonna leave?
No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, that looks good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi. I'm Julie Area. And I wanted to bring up the matter of the water going out every time the electricity goes out where we live, up on the top of Thunderbird Mountain. I'm concerned because every time the power goes out, which is pretty often, we don't have any water. So we can't use the toilets, we can't use the sink, we can't take medication, we can't do anything. And it gets, you know, there are about 7 houses up there that I believe are affected by this. And we all pay the same amount for the water, so I think we should get water too all the time. The problem is worse, like in the winter, if we get snowed in up there and can't go down and buy water, which has happened to us a couple times when we had company. Or if you have company, you know, you need a lot more water for showers and food and toilets, everything. And the people that live down lower on the hill, they all have water because their water is gravity fed, at least for until the tank runs out. But we don't. It stops immediately when the electricity stops. And I think that's, well, it's not good for us, but it's also not safe for the whole community. In case if the electricity should go out for some reason for a longer period of time, then the tank would probably run dry and nobody would have any water. And as far as I know, a state can condemn your property if you don't have electricity and water, and they can take it. And if you guys have read on the World Economic Forum's website, you can see what our government has in store for us. With the Agenda 2030, they plan that we'll own nothing and we'll be happy. If you've ever seen their commercial, that means your house as well. So I think we need to consider that. I think that we have to get probably a pump and an electric backup for the pump. It'd probably be better if it was solar with a battery backup. In case, you know, it's cloudy, you'll still have some energy for a few days. And with the way things are going with petroleum products, you don't know if they'll outlaw natural gas or if they'll outlaw propane, and we wouldn't be able to get that. So I think electric would probably be the safest, or some kind of a generator that could use multiple power sources. Let's see. And there's always a possibility of the grid failing too, because we know that it's old, it hasn't been hardened, and it's vulnerable to hacks. And they don't have to take out too much of the grid to get the whole country. And we've seen this happen in several states, you know, as they're trying to switch over to different power supplies where their power was insufficient and the water went out and the plumbing went out and then people started dying, couldn't heat their houses, all kinds of things. So it could get very serious, and I think that at the minimum we need one at the top of the hill to supply all the people that live up there. Because like the first year we lived here, there were 12 times that the power went out. It's not just once a year or something. It's pretty often. And I think it could have an impact on the market value of our house as well. You know, you can't say, well, we kind of have water and electricity. And people aren't going to like that very well. So we did request this a year or two ago, and the city council said that they would do it in the spring, but it was never done. So I'd like to have it looked at again. And I did look up the rules governing public water systems in North Carolina. And it does say that you need to supply auxiliary power, guaranteeing that the water is going to be delivered in a consistent fashion. And so this one was power generating equipment shall be provided for each well as sufficient to operate the pump, lights, controls, chemical feeders, alarms, and other electrical equipment as may be necessary. And even if the main well pump goes out, you're still supposed to have enough backup to deliver the normal amount of water to all the houses. So I'd just like that to be considered. We have lived through almost 3 years with the lack of water every time the electricity goes out.
Thank you for that.
And I did talk to other neighbors too who had problems and, had a whole house full of company and no water and no electricity. So they're not very happy about it either. And we've had that happen to us a couple of times.
You want me to? I
If
can.
you'd like to, can you give her some background, some information?
Yeah.
And then Tina, can you do
The
some-
first thing I would say is make sure that tax assessor knows that you don't have water.
Yeah, there you go.
Just
Yeah.
Take this off the list.
I told them that
So-
when it came to our
Yeah, I would make sure no. But seriously, just so you're aware, I don't think anybody has put it aside or is ignoring it. We have to look into see what size generator will operate those pumps. And I'm not an expert, so I've asked around a lot of different things, and so it seems that the generator that's needed is going to be really big. So we're looking at seeing if we can have a backup one that's smaller. However, I've become aware in researching all this stuff that potentially you have a fire hydrant that's attached to your line below at the end of Indian Trail. So we couldn't have a smaller pump. If that's the case, which that's one of the things when we find all those lines, hopefully we can know that for sure. But if that was the case, we wouldn't be able to have a smaller pump because if the power went out and there was a fire, they have regulations on all that too. So it's kind of like one thing led to another, to another, to another. So things are being researched. Who makes the decisions on what kind of energy? I don't know. Scotty Sawyer, he doesn't sell solar pumps. I mean, he said that. But he said the pumps that are in there just need a really big generator. And so we're trying to find options for something a little more economical.
And would they supply the top as well?
The top and the bottom, I mean, just so you know, so the water, we go through typically in the winter, like maybe 5,000 gallons an evening, okay? At the most, I would say. In the summer, when there's lots, like 4th of July, you might go through like 30,000 gallons. And so, a week. And so, if the power were to go out, it would have to go out for quite a while.
How big is that tank?
It's 120,000, well, it's 130,000 gallons with two of them. So, so it'd have to go out for quite a while, and we have a generator that I could go manually run a pump with. In other words, it's not hooked up to that, but it's a gas generator sort of a thing. And I don't know all the regulations on, like if other towns, like if power goes out, if they all still have water still. And I don't know any of that, but to get to your main point, I do think the council has communicated to me a desire to try to see what can be done and if we can afford it and those sorts of things. It's just trying to do it right.
Figure out.
It's just taking time, and so I don't know if that's helpful, but I do think I want to help you.
We're working on it. I talked to Lamar just to see if there was anything we could do on our own to get the water to our house, but he said there isn't.
And I don't.
You have to do it from the.
He would probably know better, but I would think water could go through that if you could pump it up. But I don't know enough to know. So.
Mr. Davison has an idea.
I just had a question since I've got you in front of me. So I need to try to understand how this water system is constructed. I was around when they installed it, but I didn't have anything to do with the planning and the installation of it or anything. I understand the dynamic that the people at the top of the mountain are having with, there's not enough gravity to
Right.
create enough pressure to push the water into the pipes to feed the stuff way high.
Right.
You know, that's why you go into these little towns and you see the water tower way above the tallest building.
Yeah.
On stilts, on big old huge stilts, because that gives the height that then the pressure of the water in the tank pushes down, and power goes out, they're not filling the tank, but the water still distributes. And everybody down at the bottom of the hill has plenty of pressure coming from the tank because there's enough gravity to add, you know, as it goes downhill, the pressure it needs to get into everybody's house. Is that what's happening on the top?
Yes.
Is that what the pumps are for up there?
So there's 2 pumps up there to supply for,
That
there's actually 9 houses.
just push the water to add the pressure to get it into their houses.
Yeah, I mean, some of the houses, if you went on their upper store, their upper floor, you're probably close to the top of the tank.
Above the tank.
Or very, you know, so you have virtually no pressure without this.
So those are just basically pressure increased. Those
5 horse, 2 5-horse pumps.
Right.
That are in line to increase
They
pressure.
run together or is one backup?
One at a time.
One at a time. Okay,
Yeah, they can
just count
alternate.
backup. Okay, so 5 horsepower has to be the power it takes to run 5
And they
horsepower.
run, to kick that on. It's that.
Right, yeah, it's quite a bit of force to electricity. Okay, that answers my question. I had that question in the back of my head, why do they not have water up there when the power goes out? Because if they didn't have water because of just the sheer pressure issue, they should not have water ever. But it's just, there's a pump that delivers their water when the
so when power's off, it doesn't
So
run.
those pumps run all the time.
No, very little.
I
Well,
mean,
depends
I
on
can give
the
you a little history if I can. When the water system was put in, the tank was put in, there was one house on the top of the mountain. They screwed up from the beginning. The tank should have been higher.
I was going to say that.
But hindsight, that's when they put in the dual pumps and the 2 119-gallon tanks, I think they are. So the entire top of the mountain is being supplied by basically a 1-inch line into a 3-inch line going down the street supplying all those houses. The choke, the biggest part of the choke, and I'm working with, well, talking to a couple of plumbers now, to bring them out and take a look, is that 3/4 to 1-inch line. You can build the pressure up, but as soon as somebody opens a valve, it drops because you don't have the flow.
Yeah, we don't have very good pressure anyway,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
in the work.
So,
Showers
like I
levels
said,
in.
we are, I can say I'm kind of involved a little bit, not as a town employee or anything, but just working experience. But we are looking at that. We're also looking at replacing the tanks that are in there with tanks that have a replaceable bladder. Because right now, one of the tanks has a bad diaphragm. And the other tank didn't have any air in the diaphragm, so
I was
hopefully
wondering about that.
what
They're
we-
pressurized?
that's what burned up one of the motors, we think, is because there was no air in it. So they were kicking on and off every time somebody flushed the toilet or opened the valve for 10 seconds. So anyways, we found that one of the diaphragms was good. We put air pressure in it. And we could go outside and run the hose for, like 2 minutes or something before the pump would kick on. So we solved the problem there. The second tank has the bad diaphragm.
The big one or the little one?
The 119 gallon. There's 2 of them up there.
Yeah.
I've talked to a water engineer who lives on the mountain here, Ken DeGarbo, and he told me that even though the diaphragm is bad, if we put air in that tank, as long as it's got water in it, that we can put enough air in to bring it up to 36 pounds or whatever it is, and it'll actually start working the right way until we get around to replacing them with the new tanks that we can put new bladders in. Right now, we would have to spend about $1,300 for each tank to be replaced of the 119 gallon tanks. If we put the new style tanks in with the replaceable bladder, we only got to buy tanks once, and the new bladder is $149.
Oh, that's good.
So again, we are looking towards the future. And it's been a known problem for a long time. And unfortunately, prior council didn't budget for it. And the new council wasn't left with a hell of a lot to budget for it. So
I think Julie's point too, that we've been waiting a long time, like she said, almost 3 years now, since we moved in, and I know it was a pre-existing problem before that. As more and more people are moving here and we're getting more activity up on the hill and people are spending more time, it's becoming a bigger problem. So and when they turn on their water, our water also drops. So depending on how many you're going around up there, so it's becoming an issue, big issue. So the previous council got stuck because when we found out during the construction of the auxiliary tank, which had to be built by state or federal standards, because the big tank had to be cleaned on an every 5-year basis, I believe, Jack, wasn't it something like that?
I think it's every 10.
Okay, every 10 years, but there was no way to drain the big tank to repair it because we had no auxiliary tank, no backup tank. So at that point, the council made the decision to spend a great deal of money to construct a pad and plumbing and put another tank, smaller tank in there. But that took most of our budget. And at that point then, there wasn't a lot left over to do this type of work. So I think it's been incumbent upon the present council, the past council, that we really focus on our infrastructure. And I know you're going to go into that in a minute here, because we're looking for we don't even know where all the pipes are around here. So I think everybody in Santeetlah needs to be concerned that we keep our feet to the fire and we repair or make provision for upcoming upgrades in these areas, in these vital areas. Electricity being one, which we don't have a lot of control over, that's Duke Energy, but we do control our water, our pipes, our tanks, our generators. And then one last question, Jack. If there was a long-term power failure, we had one once, I think late last year when the power went down in town, the whole place was out for like 48 hours. Does that stop the water from being pumped out of the wells and up to the tank? Does that mean
if the power is out past the wells?
Yeah, out of the wells?
Yeah.
So maybe we need to be thinking about that as a location for a possible backup system as well, that we could power, as long as we can power or pump our water out of the ground and get it up the hill, our town could be, independent of the, off the grid, I guess, from say Robbinsville or whatever, we'd still have water. And that might be something we need to focus on. So I wanted to bring that up as a point of interest for the town to consider. Maybe not immediately, but something that would be done sooner than later.
If the power is going to be out that long, I think it could be declared an emergency.
My microwave's not going to work. I'll start.
And the town could probably rent like a 45 or 50 kW generator and get the lower one working.
We're worried about that.
I'm just saying.
Do you have something you want to bring up?
One of the, when this council started, one of the things that I did was we asked Kim, Emily, was that we did a long-term plan. What is broken and what needs to be fixed. And as you can tell, we've started on those things. Unfortunately, the water is so complicated and we have so little money with the water fund. So we have more money, because you're on the council. So with the general fund, we've been able to do the roof. We did the paving on Black Bear. We can do more paving on Black Bear. But if you transfer money from the general fund to the water fund, it really hurts you in the end, because if we need to take a loan out, which we just did a year and a half ago, you're penalized, or possibly penalized for that. So we have been working on it, as you can tell from what Scott said, is we've looked at different things, and then that brings up the question about, well, what about a smaller pump? What about a smaller generator? What about a battery generator, backup? What about, I understand your frustration, but we are trying to figure out something.
We need probably 2 or 3 options up there, and then we have to decide what's the most prudent. So.
And the big thing too will be, which Connie was at a meeting the other day, she's going to talk about finding the water lines. So that's a big thing, but
Yeah.
we haven't forgotten about you, is what I'm saying. We
We're
haven't.
the ugly stepchild up on the hill.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, but you got
It's
the
not
best
right.
views.
But you can't drink that, do you?
There's water everywhere, but guys,
It's like being a life raft in the Pacific, you can't drink it, you know?
We're always talking about it internally, what's next, what can we do, and even like Scott said today, well, that might be connected to a hydrant, like all these things just keep coming up. It's an old system that was put in probably
And we
haphazardly.
get it, we understand, we just want to make sure we're keeping your feet to the fire and we're still on the grid, you
Well, the
know?
hydrant thing is important too.
Yeah,
because
for fire.
You don't want your house to burn down.
Yeah, if the electricity goes out, then we don't have any water to put on the fire.
Right, right, we need everything.
So Scott, one last question, and Jack may know this as well, or, you know, if you've been here when they installed it. Now that we have that extra tank up there, it sits higher. And I'm thinking, everybody shakes their head and they say there's not enough gravity to get it to run. If it was on an independent line at the top of the hill.
It's not any
based on
higher
that
than the tank.
But could we hook it up that way? Could we go down a trench and add some pipe
It's not.
and do it? It's just not high enough.
The tank isn't any higher.
It's not?
If you go up on top of the tank and look across,
Yeah,
it's within 6 inches.
okay.
So
And the two tanks are.
It looks like, I agree with you.
Because it sits up on the hill higher, that doesn't help.
But when you go up, and I know from the water levels, because
Yeah.
the water isn't going to lie at all.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, it's within 6 inches.
So that's a moot point then. Okay. So we just build, like you said, a big,
Go up another.
with a big sign.
Go higher, build a bigger tank.
Lake Santeetlah, at Christmas, we can light it up with a tree up there. Put a tower up there so we can actually get internet.
Ah.
You can do what they do in New York City, right? Have your own cistern on the top of every house.
There you go.
Yeah.
If this tank that was put in like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whenever it was, if that tank had been kind of thought through a little bit different and put up higher,
Yeah, we could.
in the beginning, you would have had your gravity fed.
Could they pull that off that pad and
And it didn't
put a
happen.
thing underneath it?
I mean, I guess you could do still so high. I mean, you get, I think it's a pound every 2 feet. I look at you because the way you talk, it's like you know.
Roughly 14.6 pounds per story, per atmosphere. I think an atmosphere.
It's either you get 2 pounds
Put that
every
thing up
foot.
another 10 feet, would that do the trick? Like, if
No,
somebody-
you'd have to go.
That would give you 14 pounds.
You'd have to build one of those great big towers.
Yeah.
And again, one of the biggest problems is, we go back to that 1 inch,
Connection.
That's what the problem is.
that's
That's-
volume.
that's-
It's volume.
So we just don't even know where that pipe
That's
is.
what
do
it
we?
used to be.
Okay, that'll bring us up.
Or
to-
the 1 inch
That's why
or
it's
3
a
inch?
plumber.
Which
Where
one?
the 1 inch pipe hooks to the 3 inch, do we know where that location is?
Well, he's just talking where the pressure tanks are.
Right, but the whole top of the mountain is supplied through those two 119 gallon tanks.
Yeah.
I think that just pressures it.
Pressure,
My
yeah,
understanding.
you got gallons per minute, you got pressure, you know.
No, It's just, that's strictly for the top of the mountain.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have public comment?
Does anybody on television have a Zoom, a public?
Jack, do you have public comment?
No, good.
No.
I'm just requesting that the power goes down, can we come to your house?
Come on, give me a call.
We just want to use the potty.
And if you guys are trapped up with snow, call me. I'll bring you water. I can
I'll bring you
over.
water. Okay, so thank you. And we're not blowing you off, believe me. We're trying to work something out. We have had a lot of different things that are happening with this. And we got to get back to basics, I feel, that we know where, that's my next subject on the agenda. That will help you understand where we're working towards to start. Infrastructure improvements.
We just hadn't heard anything else for a long time.
No, because this is really not like a yes or no answer, unfortunately. There's a lot of different aspects to it, and we're trying to work through those. And a can of worms. And it's put on our long-range plans when we had our budget hearings, so that people knew it was, something that we need to look into.
But it's at
I
the
mean, it was
top.
on the grid when I was on the council.
And some of the part-time people up there are going to be full-time pretty soon.
Oh, good.
So they'll even be more.
Okay. All right. If we can move on then, old business number 1, the report on lease of Graham County tool for water identification.
Yeah.
Okay, what that's about is
Point of information, it's not a Graham County tool, it's a Robbinsville tool.
Robbinsville, it's written Graham County on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, I apologize, I read it different. Okay, basically what happened was about 2-3 months ago, we had a company come out and gave us a demonstration on a machine. It looks like a push lawnmower, and it has radar, and it reads water pipes, it finds water pipes under the ground. Because our town has no idea where a lot of our water pipes are. A lot of the pipes run through the roads, along the roads, and we don't know what size they are, we don't know any of this. So that was one of the things that even past councils in the past had to think through, like, how are we going to do this? And we've gotten everything from a $70,000 cost factor to a $40,000 cost. The machine we looked at, if we did it ourselves, was like $33,000 for one of the machines. But oddly enough, a couple months ago, Robbinsville, the town of Robbinsville, bought one of those machines. And they use it to find water leaks in Robbinsville. And so I had an idea. I said, let's go talk to Robbinsville and let's see if we could do some type of lease agreement and borrow their machine and locate our water pipes. And Scott and I have been working together along with other people. And we went to this meeting in Robbinsville yesterday, and I presented it to them in the August meeting, and then we couldn't go to the September, so the July and August, the September meeting we went to. And they were very, very, very open to this. I presented a proposal. I don't know if we could put it up, but I presented a proposal. I did some research. Machines like this rent anywhere, like national rental companies, for $200 to $250 a week to $650 a month. There's more cost factors involved with that, so I thought, okay, basic numbers. So I went to Robbinsville with the proposal. Scott and I talked to them yesterday and said, if we give you $250 for a week's rental, Scott preferred that we do it, if you do 1 week at a time every month for the next 4 months. So, and they may need to send their employer to work the machine since he's already trained on it. We'd have to pay his salary and his cost. But it's like whatever days he works, how much we have to pay him. All those numbers are being worked out. All the legalities are being worked out. I've spoken to our town attorney about this, and I put it on the agenda last month so that people were aware I was going in this direction. And he's willing to write up a lease or an agreement with Robbinsville, work out those details so the machine is totally insured, totally taken care of, and we get to do our water mapping system. And at a cost of maybe no more than a few $1,000s by the time it's said and done. That's an approximate number. We don't know what we're going to find. But we will be able to take a large map, like there's one in the office, and draw in where these lines are, and for a nominal fee. And if you want to say some more on it, that's fine.
Yeah, so I mean, kind of how it would pertain to you guys then would be, I mean, we can be working at figuring out generators and that kind of stuff as well, but having that map is going to be critical to understanding what's going to work up top. So hopefully by the end of this winter, we'll have it all mapped, as would be the game plan. So
we got probably some water leaking and we don't even know it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Sure, I know that.
I know Fontana over there complaining about
So you
it.
got to find those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we don't know where to start to look, and we don't know where the pipes are. So this is our first my first idea of infrastructure, starting at the bottom, working our way through all these obstacles. So we know where the pipes are, we know what size pipes they are, we know where our valves are, we know all this information so we can help you at the top continue to have water just like everybody on the mountain. We're going in that direction.
And if one breaks, you know where it is.
We know where to start digging, yes, because a lot of times if it breaks over here, the water doesn't show up down over here. So it just really be helpful. So that is a big plus in my book. I am so thankful for you coming and explaining this to the Robbinsville people. I'm limited knowledge on these, I did do the, demonstration on the machine.
Yeah, we had a leak in our house too, we couldn't find it for long.
Yeah, so you know how frustrating that is. And you just know how frustrating. And the pipes are they're aging, they're getting older. And when anytime the roads were repaired and blacktopped over or chip and sealed over, they just went over what was existing. They didn't get to the bottom and know where to put the asphalt. They could put it where it was. So So that's basically what we're doing. I'm very positive about this. Routensville was very receptive. They felt like working inter-towns, working together is a good thing, which I agree. And it's just respect for each town and knowing that we have a problem and they're going to help us. At a minimum, money costs.
You know, that nobody would do it before this, before we start working on it.
Make some money on
Need
it.
a motion? Are you asking for a motion? Or not at this point? We're gonna do an interlocal agreement, intergovernment agreement with, that the attorney's gonna draw up and then we vote on it?
That's exactly what's going to happen. I may have a special meeting, I may call a special meeting, just a brief meeting, in order for us to vote on whether we accept this contract as written.
So Scott, if you don't get it done by January, we get half off on our appraisal.
Well, now, hold on.
You know, we can't guarantee water up there.
Details, the grant county. So, is there any comment on that? I'm going to take a brief comment. Jeff, you had a hand up on that?
Just the point that Robbinsville had 2 or 3 questions that they were going to look into.
Yeah, their attorney's going to look
And
into
we were
it.
going to look into a couple, so it's coming together.
It's working.
Just,
It's a great idea.
just good work. And
Thank you.
the mayor's good, clever thought of, you know, I was like, well, how much money do they need? Let's go raise it. Let's put it together, just buy our own machine. But I'm like, no, you know, that's much better.
That's fine. Because we're not going to need it like all the time. We only need it for a little while.
We don't want to buy it. How much is that machine again, Scott?
Depends which one you buy.
Yeah. No,
Cadillac
it's 30,000.
It was $33,000 that we looked at. I looked at my notes.
I think we'll just.
And that was your
defer on
generator
that.
cost.
And that could have been a generator. So
Yeah.
we didn't spend the money on the machine. I'm finding ways to cut dollars. You're welcome. To cut dollars and make this town work.
There you go.
So that's where I'm after. And infrastructure is my goal. So, okay, so let's move on to our next agenda item, and this is data. Can you speak on that one, please, Scott? Tell everybody what it is and what it
Gotta
is.
go home and take care of that clock.
Oh, okay, well, that's your here.
So just the SCADA, it used to be a SCADA system, now it's a SCADA system, which stands for, I always forget, so I had to look it up, but it's Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. All it is it's what's communicating the pumps to the tank, so it can all work when it's supposed to. So what I've been doing since the old SCADA system went out is just manually turning them on and off when I went out of town. Kim and Emily and Jack filled in. We replaced the boxes, but their programmer was sick and wasn't able to come in, so they're going to come Monday and finish it, and then we'll have a little bit of an upgrade, but pretty much the same system we had before. The upgrade being there's boxes at both sites now, so now if I'm up at the tank and I need to turn the pumps off here, I can do it by pushing a button instead of having my kid over there like I've done before. So anyway, so that's a slight upgrade, and then this system is something that's able to be built upon. Chad is going to meet with me next week. Robbinsville just got a really kind of top of the line SCADA system put in, and so he's going to show me what it is, what the benefits of it are, all those sorts of things. So that's pretty much where that's at.
Perfect. Thank you. And that's been one coming. We've been needing to replace that. We've been waiting to see if it was going to break. We budgeted for it in case it did break, and a month or two later, it broke. So thank goodness our finance officer thought ahead on that one.
And the system that is being installed is like the base model, so it's like the record player, but we'll be able to add on the speakers and the disc player and all that kind of stuff. So this is just the base. We can add on it next year or even at the end of this year if we have money left over in the budget to make it so that it's even more modern, up to date. So
A little more seamless, so you don't have to bring your kid along.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so so there's no vote on that because we haven't gotten our agreement, but I wanted the town to know that that's what we're doing, and it's going to work. I'm really excited. The next thing is new business, the Interlocal Agreement Renewal, Mantahala Regional Library. A little background, Mantahala Regional Library is the region library there's 3 counties, 4 libraries, and a bookmobile included in this. And there is a letter or an email that was sent by the director, because one of the council member, I'm sorry, she's not here right now, but she did put out an email with some concerns. So I thought the best thing for mine to do is to give these concerns straight to the director and let him answer them. And the answers are in this email. I don't know if it can be read. What our town needs to do, this agreement is a 10-year agreement. It wasn't a fact about, I want to say, 10 years ago, it got put into effect. And then there, in about a couple years into it, Graham County had a situation and our town wanted out of this agreement. So we opted to go out of the agreement. We had to put it in writing. We had to give them a year's notice because it's a budgeted item, and every year everybody has to plan their budgets. And they count on us contributing to the Mantahala Regional Library as a whole in order to run these libraries and do interconnections with state level. Now it's a state level organization where we're at. So one of our council members wanted the money to go, instead of us, but we already budgeted for it. It's $1,200 we're giving the library, the Mantahala Regional Library. One of our council members, she thought the money should go to the Friends of Library. Now the Friends of the local library is a social or a club that people in the library got together, and they do things in the library for, like, programs for children, and it's very worthy. It's a very good organization. Except us as a municipality giving money to an organization is kind of like, if you want to donate, then donate. But for us to donate from a town, it just doesn't ride comfortable with me. This is why it's going to the regional library, because it's part of an interlocal, state-run organization. We have a director, there's board members from every county, there's 3 board members from every county, so, and it's quite, we have quarterly meetings scheduled, and they're always online. You could always see the minutes of the meeting. So the motion, we do need a motion to vote on this, because this is going to expire the end of this month. And I need to recluse myself because I am on the regional library board. So I feel like I should not vote in this matter.
No, we can vote.
But I don't know if we can vote now that we don't have enough people.
We don't have a quorum.
So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask, do you feel, I guess it's up to the people to tell me whether I should recluse.
Ask Derek.
The attorney's online, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Derek, are you there?
What's it for?
For the library.
Derek?
The library.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, did you hear that question?
Can you repeat the question? I'm taking notes too.
Okay. So, we only have 3 council members here, and Connie wants to recuse herself from voting on the library agreement because she is involved with the library, so that only leaves 2 council members to vote.
Should she recuse herself?
You
Or she
do
gonna
not-
get
yeah.
money from it?
You don't have a quorum to vote on that then.
Yeah.
But do I have to recluse myself?
If she doesn't get any payment or any financial interest from the library, would that require her to recuse herself?
Are you on a board, Connie?
She's on the board,
Okay.
but you don't get
There's
paid.
no monumental monies, no. It's just a volunteer position.
On the recusal issue, you guys have to vote as a body whether or not to recuse, and the person can offer to recuse themselves, and then you still have to vote, or you can bring it up affirmatively by the board to vote that. And what you're looking at is a conflict of interest or the appearance of impropriety or the appearance of a conflict of interest. So it's really up to you. All I can do is give you the standard on that.
Maybe we should put it off then until if we're going to have a special meeting.
We're going to have a special meeting because this will expire September 30th.
Yeah, so you said, will you have a special meeting?
I'm going to have to.
You'll have to do it before September. Even if we don't have the other thing, you may have to have 2 special meetings.
Before the end of this month, and today's the 11th.
Where does that fund come from, that 1,200? Is that out of the general fund? Where's that coming from?
It was a line item in the general fund for Nancy.
We're obligated to do it now because we didn't back out earlier. Is that how I understand it?
No, there is no agreement right now, but this is the 10-year anniversary, and this is why the agreement is putting out. It
Or
goes
the
to
other cities,
It goes to-
counties.
there's 10 signatures on this, at least. There's Graham County, Robbinsville, Fontana, us as a town, and then Hayesville and Andrews and Murphy. All those establishments signed the same agreement. And I had this agreement sent to our attorney, and he looked it over, and they came back with just one thing that they thought it was okay to sign, but there was one thing they were a little hesitant on, and, you know, I don't know how we would change that. The agreement has to stay the same to go to everybody, because everybody signs the same agreement.
What was his concern?
Let me find it for you then.
Oh, something minor, isn't it?
Just a matter of wording.
It was a matter of wording on Article 6, Amendment Procedures, under B, disagreements related to disagreements shall be resolved first by the committee of the representatives from each government and then by the legal counsels if necessary. And I thought...
He said it was
Basically,
okay, though.
Yeah, he said it was.
He said it was okay.
It shouldn't say that the agreement will be, disagreements will be resolved by the legal counsel, because the legal counsels work for us. So it should have said arbitration or mediation or some other thing, instead of that they get to make the decision.
Kind of a technicality.
I believe so.
So just clarification, the only library that I know of is in Robbinsville, right?
That's the library we're talking about.
We don't get a book deal out here or anything like
No,
that.
that's the library I'm talking about.
That's the Mantahala.
That's
So we're just supporting the library, basically?
Yes.
Yeah. But doesn't the, who supports the library minimums at a Robbinsville?
They get,
library?
well, they get money from all over. They get money from the state, they get money from Robbinsville, they get money from us, they get money from Fontana, they get money from Graham County. And there's, well, I say state aid, there's regional monies that come in, and that's basically it. So.
And the good thing is, from the email that Mr. Shook sent, who's the director, we can put in our budget. We're not a set amount. It's not 10,000 or 5,000 or 1,000 per year. It's whatever we set in our budget year to year is what we can give to them. So we already had $1,200 in our budget for this year. Next year, if we have more money or we have less money, depending on what's happening in the town,
Was that
we're not
the
set.
revised budget that you made, where, you know, where things were just slashed pretty tight because everybody was trying to keep the costs down?
Right.
It was the.
Or was this left over from the previous budget?
No, different.
It was, it was part of the slash, but I had cut all of our payments from $200 down to $100, and I had kept the mayor's at $200 because I thought she's the face of the government, she should get a little bit more, and Connie said I would prefer not to have anything more, and that gave the extra $1,200. So we were able then, and the library had already requested us to join them again, so that's where the $1,200 came.
The other thing I want to make a reference to is that the money that we're giving them, the $1,200 we give the regional library, stays in the Graham County Library. That money is going to be only used in Graham County Library, the one that's in Robbinsville.
It's not going to Murphy.
It doesn't go to any other facility. It stays with Graham County in the Robbinsville Library. The thing is, it's earmarked, the money we're giving is earmarked to keep the library open on Mondays for 4 hours. That's what this $1,200 is going to pay. Yes?
Are you a member of this board because you are a member of the town council or as a private citizen?
No, as a private citizen. I was appointed to the board, Regional Library Board, going on 4 years now. I have a 6-year term, so.
Quick question, if I'm not mistaken, isn't this document coming from the regional manager?
Yes, our director.
Not from the board. I mean,
No,
the
it's
board
not
might have
my
had some
document.
input, but the offer is actually from the regional manager.
That's right.
So,
And it's apparently what he said, it's the same, or pretty close to the same contract that all of the regional libraries use throughout the whole state.
I don't think there'd be any reason to recuse, but that would be y'all's decision.
So do you want me to recluse or do you want to vote? I mean,
You can even vote to reduce.
I don't know what to do, Derek. We don't know what to do. I know you
What
explained.
what if you vote on it and say yes, and then they find out later, you can't do that?
Right.
Well, we've already got the request for the $1,200, so.
Right. We have to give them the $1,200. It's budgeted money, and we got to sign. They have like everybody else, they have state requirements, they have state time levels, you know, they gotta get this stuff in by certain time and certain dates. So we're limited to what we can stretch this out for.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to not recuse Connie on the fact that this agreement, 10-year agreement, had been already approved by the town of Lake Santeetlah more than 10 years ago. And it's basically a request to rejoin them. And also because you do not get any financial money, so they don't pay you anything. So
No.
I feel as though even if you didn't recuse that, you can still vote. So I'd like to make a motion to not recuse you.
Okay.
I second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
So now I'd like to make a motion to approve the Mantahala Regional Library Agreement as presented, and to donate the $1,200 that we budgeted to the library, to the Mantahala Regional Library.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, thank you for everyone for that. Move on. The change, I need a motion to change the meeting date for the November meeting. We had it down, we do a calendar year every year. We have to start to do a calendar year of council meetings. And a council meeting in November was moved to the 17th because in November is Veterans Day, and it usually interferes with that meeting date. But this year, it doesn't. So I'd like to keep it consistent. The actual date of the next November meeting should be November 10th, which is the second Thursday of the month. Am I correct on that? Okay. So I'd like to have a motion.
I'll make a motion to change the meeting from November 17th to November 10th.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next to number 3 under new business, we have lakeside drainage request and solution. I have action needed next to that. I don't know if Tina wants to speak on that one. I think she has information.
Actually, I'm going to turn it back over to Scott because I think, or Kim. Do you
Man, I read that and read it, I can't remember what I read.
There's a lot going on.
This is
They
concerning.
they had an issue going on. You probably know a little bit more than I do.
Give us the backstory.
Yeah, let's find out what's going on.
Well, I mean, in regards to the work that was done, Chris Walter did a really good job. It's done. And, I mean, it's all done. I think the question, I don't see any of your emails, but I think that has to do with some sort of money or something.
Yeah,
That's not really my forte.
Right.
Lakeside gave $10,000 when they turned the roads over. I think we used a little over $5,000 at one point to pave, and then another 2,000 something to put gravel along the sides of the roads all over Lakeside. And there's $2,100 left in escrow to be used in Lakeside, and they have requested that $2,100 be used to correct a drainage issue by one of the houses. It was draining out into the road. And
They
so
wish they did the work.
Yeah, they did. It's finished. They filled the ditch all in with, is that creek rock? With creek rock, and they requested the $2,100 to help pay for that. Jose Rosado sent a letter saying that they were fine with that money being used for that. The last time they requested money to put gravel along the sides of the road, the council actually voted to do that. So we brought this back to the council for y'all to make a decision.
And I see Jose is still online. Do we know what the cost was?
I do not know. Jose,
do you know?
I'm sure it was more than 100.
You're muted, Jose. We can't hear you.
You asking about the cost of the entire fix?
The cost for the creek rock and the easement, not for fixing any amount on the personal property. Because
I believe the personal property around $10,000, and the fix of the drainage and so on was $15,000. which included taking some of the, what do you call it, the creek rock that came from the chimney from the pavilion that was torn down, and we put it down on the swale to slow down, and it wasn't just in front of this house, it's just all along the swale all the way to the main drain, which empties out into the lake, to slow down the water as it went through there. That was the purpose of putting creek rock instead of a smoother surface like asphalt or concrete.
I did see the creek rock today.
I'm gonna take a tour down there and see the
Yeah.
new creek rock.
I'm glad you put the creek rock, that's heavy rock. And we do have that money. Kim and I looked last week and there was still that extra money. And it is easement, so the town would have worked on it anyway. I would make a motion that we reimburse the $2,100.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
So who do we reimburse for this? Do we-
Jose, who gets the check?
I'll take it now.
That's gonna be question, I know.
Honestly, I have no idea. I have to get back to you on that.
Did the homeowners association pay to repair it? Was it the Lakeside?
I don't believe the homeowners association paid for that. It was the homeowner and the developer.
Okay.
Okay.
If you will let us know, please.
But yeah, I believe that was between them, and I honestly don't know exactly, but I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, that'd be great. If you contact Kim, that would be perfect.
With some receipts.
That's what I said with the bill.
Yeah.
With the bill.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll take care of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next thing is the water payment past due concerns. This has come up, and this is something that Tina has actually been working on for a couple of months with Emily. Our billing system for our water is so old-fashioned. This is another good reason why we're going to implement this Edmunds financial program. Eventually, it takes time. That program will do our water billing and receipts coming in and money owed, and much better than what Emily has to physically go through every account and see who's late and what's going on.
Yeah.
So we're going to fix that with this new financial program. Once again, that's my infrastructure goal, is to get the basics put together.
Did that get funded, the software?
It's all paid for, yes.
Yeah, we're starting.
They're working on, it's
Well,
the
they-
early stages. It's going to take time.
Yeah.
It's a big project. But I think what's happening is that the last couple of water billing cycles have been, people have either forgot about them, or they're getting their mail forwarded, or they're on vacation, and they're not actually coming through paying their bill. So Emily just recently had to go through and find all the people who were late and call them, write them, and send out emails. And they sent out a mass email saying, look and see if you have your water bill to be paid. So it's not like we're neglecting anything, it's just probably overflowing with people away, not getting their bills. Tina would probably speak on what her ideas are on this, because she's done the research with it.
Okay. Just a quick overview. As of December of last year, the over 60 due category, there was $2,631 with 17 accounts. And as of August the 25th, we had $4,600, a little more than $4,600, with 29 accounts that were over 60 days. Emily sent the email out, and within a week, really, we were down to $3,500. And as of today, we're down to $2,800 with 18 accounts that are past due. So we are back in line with what we were last year, pretty much at this time. And we do have a water policy. Part of what I think we might want to discuss, and it would probably be a good idea to implement it when we get our new software system, is to shorten the time period. So instead of sending out the bills, let's say January 1st, the way it is now, you send them out January 1st, they're due approximately mid-February. You have 30 days, that's mid-March, and then 60 days is mid-April. So we're getting money in mid-April for water that was used September 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So if
Too big a lag.
it's a large lag. So maybe we can talk about in the next month or so, having our water bills due within a month, 21 days, something like that. We can shorten the time period that the bills are due, and then we'll know sooner. And once we get the new system, you can go online, you can pay it yourself, you can do the ACH checking, you can set it up, you'll be able to see things better yourself.
Because I think now, we've experienced that really on it myself, and it's because we usually just have auto billing set up, and it comes in and you just pay. And because it's quarterly, it's kind of,
It's harder to
yeah.
do.
And so then you think, oh, I'm gonna pay it, and you forget. And
Yeah, you do, you
It's
forget
easy to
about it.
forget
So
about
our new admin system is gonna keep us, I believe, from what I've learned on it, it's gonna keep us more up to date, and it's gonna do a lot of the stuff automatically, rather than the manual time and effort that Emily puts in every month, or every water cycle month, going through this. It's a task.
Yeah, I think we're down, you said $1,900, so they're trickling in, and I think what's happened is when Emily was working full-time, she had the time to send out a notice, before, you're gonna be late if you don't mail it before this date, and then you're late, and so people got used to her emailing and saying, you need to pay your bill, and that's not happening anymore, and so they just forget, or they put it up and.
It's easy to
I think
do.
it's easier to forget too when you have a longer time period
Yes.
to pay it. Because the bill comes in and you're like, oh, I don't have to do that now, and you set it aside.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're past due, you get a note,
So
so.
you got auto pay that would really help too.
And you'll be able to do
And that's the new
that.
system,
Yeah, the new
hopefully it'll
system
have all
will
that,
more.
and it'll be so much easier for people
Yeah.
paying their bills, so much easier for us to keep track of.
And
if there's a-
vacation.
Yes.
Especially a lot of these people with vacation bills are not even here. So-
This is true, and a lot of people get their mail forwarded, which takes them a couple extra weeks depending on where it's going. There's a whole lot of issues involved.
I think
So,
if we start enforcing the policy, and Emily said she talked to you about that, if we start enforcing the policy and the water's turned off after 30 days, then.
Yeah.
It'll be like our house.
yeah, you
In
can,
the
you
middle.
know that.
We can all suffer together.
And then we contact the tax office and get the taxes lowered, because it's inhabitable, there's no water. I love it.
At least we're in solidarity out here in the sense.
We probably will need to update the water policy because the policy says that if you haven't made a full payment within a billing quarter, so it's not specific to say it's just within a billing quarter. So when does that billing quarter, it could be one day.
There is
and you're
kind of be
within
a
that
consequence.
limit.
So let's try to
But
put
let's-
something positive on the agenda for next month to try to do a new
Yeah.
policy.
Okay.
Let's put that
This was a
together.
side question. Somebody asked me the other day, do the folks that only own a vacant lot here pay the quarterly water bill
Good question. They
on
don't.
their property, even though there's no structure there? Because they're benefiting from the infrastructure, upgrades, takes, whatever, but they're not putting, there's no skin in the game. So
That's a
can somebody
good point.
research that and maybe we bring that up next time? Or do you
If you
know?
have a water meter on the lot.
I would imagine it'd be the minimum, $125
Correct.
or whatever it is
Correct.
every 3 months.
And that would,
No usage
we're looking for
amounts.
money. I think our water bills are unusually
They
have
high.
so much meters. They might have
They
meters
don't
set,
have meters, it
but
just
they
has
don't
a
have
box. It's not
Okay,
actually.
so the
meters.
box
So-
there, but there's nothing inside.
Some
of
people
it.
don't even have meters out there.
No, so
No.
we can't charge them if they don't actually have a meter, it's just an empty box. When they go to have the meter put in, if they go to bills, then
Maybe
we
we-
charge them. We can
Maybe,
charge it.
maybe the city needs to
Connection.
take a look at that.
That would be.
Well, that'll be something we'll look into.
I think
Okay,
that would help our infrastructure bills a bit.
you're right.
you know.
But
Because
this
they're
is,
benefiting, they're getting equity on their lot, it keeps going up. Why? Because there's more infrastructure, that infrastructure is being upgraded. I think they should put some money in it.
My opinion is that's the way it was originally written up. Anybody that had a box was supposed to pay the minimum quarterly fee to help maintain the system,
Right.
which increases the value of their property.
Yeah.
But again, past councils, I think, decided not to collect that.
well, we're writing this stuff down, and we'll.
So somebody has to go around and do a
policy.
head count of how many lots we got that theoretically don't have a meter, that may not be on the radar screen.
There's a printout available. that I supplied the town with all the original
We
information.
have that original.
Maybe we'll get
assessment.
Ralph and Jack out in the car and you guys can drive around.
I'll be right there coming with me. Okay. Okay, so we'll put together a
You can go
policy
choose that.
and, you're happy to, I'm happy to have you, look at it when we put it at the next meeting and make any comments and changes. Okay, so the next on the list, number 5, would be the TDA update, and that's Diana, and she's not with us tonight. And TPOA update with Betty LeBou,
She's not here either.
and she's not here either.
I'm on one of those committees that could probably give you
Do you
an
want to give us
informal
a
update.
TPOA
They have been
update?
working on the upcoming election for the TPO officers.
Okay.
And there's a committee that is looking into the process of the nominating of those officers, president, secretary, vice president, whatever they all are. And that is in process. That information will be probably forthcoming in the next few weeks and brought before the council for whatever approval, or whoever you guys have to, look it over. I don't know if you do or not.
That has to go through
Okay.
TPOA.
So TPOA will arrive at a fair, equitable way to nominate and get officers in there,
Okay.
of which some of you might be on that
But now
very
you can't,
list.
I remember she said that you could not be a council person and be on there.
That
Oh, really?
can't be.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say to you is, I did get an email or a newsletter that said you can be nominated for a TPOA officer, but you can't be a council member. You can't do that. So I don't know who you need to take that back to in the
Okay.
TPOA, but that's like saying you can't be a member of you can't be on the board because you're over a certain age, or because you're a garbage collector, or that you're black, or anything. So they can't condition that you can't be on the board of a homeowners
Well, all lives
association.
matter, so I think we'll let, council members be on there
So I don't know who put that together.
Yeah.
And if it's in the TPOA guidelines, that needs to be taken out, because you can't, if
It's
it's not in the
discrimination.
they can't say because you have a certain volunteer job or even a paid job that you're not eligible to do it. They could say because you don't pay your dues, you can't vote, but they can't say because of what you do outside of the TPOA. So thank you for stepping up, because that was on my list to talk to somebody about that.
And also too, I need to get the key back from Betty, so Kevin, if you see Betty, please, we need the key back for them. Because
the
I don't
key to
think
the
of any
door?
more buildings, yeah, I don't think of any more
I think she's
buildings.
using it because when we come in for the trash days or our little meetings in here once in a while.
Well, the meetings are over with for the summer. We had our last meeting, we had our last
Okay.
meeting. So I need to get the key back, only to make sure everything is accounted for.
All right.
Okay, then we'll move on to discussion items. Number 1, the Graham County 150th year celebration.
Yay.
And there's pictures. I want to give a tremendous thank you to Emily, Kim, Tina, Jack for pulling this together. I organized it, I got everything, Emily put it all together, brought more stuff, and then I got COVID. And I was sick for 2 weeks straight. I couldn't leave the house. And there was no way I could go there on Saturday and be part of this.
Yep.
Look, isn't that beautiful? So we had a great representation from our town. I think it really benefited us. They asked us to be there, be part of their celebration, and I think it was a tremendous, thank you so much. It worked out beautifully. People stopped by, they spoke to Tina, they would speak to Jack, they would, just ask who we were and see what was going on. It was very, very nice. So we had a good representation at this 150th celebration.
We'll buy at the top of the mountain.
How many pens did you give away, Jack? Complimentary pens?
Yeah, we had pens and water and
Hundreds of
maps
pens,
and
went
pictures
out
and
the door.
everything else to tell people.
That was awesome.
Okay, the next thing on the discussion is the lake cleanup posted by Randall Beal and his committee. It's going to be on September 24th, which is a Saturday. More information is available from the marina at Randall. Talk to Randall. He has, we posted in the website a letter from him explaining what they're planning. They're doing a lake cleanup, and the area that you had said where you're coming into town, one of the bridges, that area, that's one of the areas
So how do
they want
they
to
fish
clean
it out?
up.
Do they have like a net?
They're going to have nets and boats and
Okay.
people with
Grabbers
grabby
and
things and
Kayaks. that they
kayaks
throw
or
in,
whatever.
pull after the boats.
And then you're going to meet at, you'll have to read his information information, but at Chiowa Point is where they're going to meet. I don't know the specifics of the time, but if you want to join in on this, I know Jack and I are going to join in on this, and Ralph's going to join in. If anybody else would be happy to have you come on our boat, whatever, we'll go together. And let's make it a positive, good community project.
So how do you get the information?
Randall Veal has it, and it's also on our website.
Yeah, we sent out a mass email also, so you should have that, and he's gonna put another one together for me to send out, so be watching the email, so will be coming out.
We actually started a nonprofit for this, so it's gonna be I think it's gonna be an annual thing.
I did. I'll check and see if you're on there.
The other thing is the new directories are finally here. Here's one here.
Ooh, look at that.
Yeah. And I hope there's no, we're finding a few mistakes. People are finding maybe some spelling spelled wrong, or maybe numbers wrong in some of the addresses and such. So if you find a mistake in it, please go to Emily and she'll put it in our master book, and then next year's printing will get fixed. But it's been so many changes. There's been so many, new homes and new people, and things change, and so it's very hard to keep up with. By the time we get it, after they put it in print, it's almost obsolete. So we're doing the best we can. But the directory is here, so everybody's welcome to get one or a couple. Okay, and then the next thing on number 4 on the discussion is important. Carryover vacation time or comp time for our employees. I know that Scott puts in so much time here on his days off and at nighttime, Saturdays, Sundays, that pump back and forth, a lot of time. So he gets comp time whenever, he's put in his hours for the week. And we want to possibly convert that over to vacation time.
If you want. Well,
how do we want to do that?
Yeah, a lot of companies and government entities will allow you to carry over your comp time or your vacation time, but it's not in our personnel policy now. So I wanted to have the discussion about having some amount of comp time or vacation time that can be carried over. So instead of being limited to 2 weeks, if you have an extra 40 hours or whatever amount of hours that we determine to carry over, that it can be carried over to the next year, and it doesn't have to all be used. Like I understand, Scott, you might be taking like every Friday off for the next
the rest of the year.
The rest of the year, yeah, to use some of your time. But if we had the carryover, you might want to carry it over, and next year take a longer vacation.
What's that?
Have
A
more.
longer vacation, or a couple of them.
There you go.
Like 6-month vacation twice
Yeah, I
a
was
year.
Well, a lot of businesses and government entities, they limit it to 40 hours. So basically it's 1 week, so you could carry over 1 week of comp or vacation time, like a total of 40 hours. It wouldn't be, my idea is it would just be like 40 hours. It wouldn't be 40 hours comp time and 40 hours of vacation. It would just be the 40 hours altogether. And with the new software system, you might be able to, I'm not sure yet, but it might be combinable into like personal time instead of vacation time and sick time or this time or that time. So that's something I just wanted to throw out there and have a discussion about if we like the idea of having carryover. I do.
I do.
I do.
And so we have an open forum tonight.
Yeah. One of the things we used to do in the fire department, once a year, usually around Thanksgiving time and stuff, there was an option to get paid for up to X amount of hours. You put a request in.
That would be too expensive, I
That might be
think.
expensive.
Okay.
And the
Budget
reason
for that.
Scott has the comp time is because he's not getting the overtime.
Right.
He's opted for the comp time, So I remember him saying there's a time when you don't have time and a time when you don't have money. So
You gotta have the time off and get paid.
sometimes you need the money, sometimes you need the time.
Yeah. So I want to do what's best for our employees because they are priceless. We cannot do without them. I don't want them to know that because they're going to hold this message, but
Everybody give them a hug before you
show the love. But anyway, no,
The
so.
attorney's office, they have a Our person, our attorney has attorneys in their office that specialize in HR, so they can help us add that to our policy, if that is something that we would like to do.
So I think
What
what
do you
the best
think
thing
about
is I like the idea of converting some comp time into vacation time. I don't have a problem with that. They deserve it. I do think, though, that we should have a policy rewritten to incorporate, so maybe in October's meeting, we could have a new policy to present, which will have, the benefits of them getting the vacation time for next year, converting, and that type of stuff. We'll have it all explained.
Right, okay.
And the HR guy and our legal team, Bo, I think it is, will put that together for us. So we'll have that presented next meeting.
Okay, good.
Good. And then final public comment. I think that's where we're at. Anybody else have anything to say? I know you're tired. It's been a long
You have to
week.
bring Luke next time.
Bring Luke.
Yeah.
Luke's a little dog.
Bedtime.
I'm only 93 years old.
Yeah.
I know, he just had a birthday, and I
Ralph,
couldn't go ahead
congratulations.
and
We're still running around like you at 93. We've done
You're
well.
doing
Thank you,
good.
thank you, I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
All right, so
Anybody have any
anybody
comments?
have final public comment they'd like to share with us? Anybody on Zoom? I can't see anybody that's.
All right, your garden looks great out there. It's awesome.
All righty then, I guess if there's no more public comments, our announcements are, the next scheduled council meeting will be October 13th, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. and we're doing it here.
We need a motion to adjourn.
We need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion.
I second the motion.